Welcome everybody to the Stephen Bobby Show. Today we are filming remotely within some of our area locations. We're actually filming in 3 different locations today simply because of all the craziness that's going on. And today I'm here, of course, with my fellow partner in crime, fellow Bobby Glia too. How you doing, Bobby?
Doing good, doing as good as I can be, man.
Excellent. So today we want to kind of like get into the discussion of some of the stuff that's been going on, you know, other than the craziness. In particular, we want to talk about Kim Jong-un. So I guess there is reports that Kim Jong-un could be missing, could be dead, there's all these reports that are going on with Kim Jong-un, but nobody knows exactly precisely what's going on, right? So let's take a look at this and we'll discuss it on the other side.
President Trump was just asked about this, and he said he knows, relatively speaking. He said, I just can't tell you exactly. I do have a good idea, but can't talk about it. Meanwhile, a senior U.S. defense official tells me that reports that he is dead or gravely ill are, as the source said, hogwash. But there is this satellite image, a kind of fascinating satellite image from Planet Labs 38 North that shows a long train outside of one of Kim's compounds. We all know he's been on those trains many times, that luxury train that took him to Vietnam. But at this point, we really don't have any more information. There is clearly something going on. He's out of view. But back in 2014, he also disappeared for about 6 weeks, turned up with a cane and said he had had ankle surgery. So we don't know exactly. It could have something to do with COVID-19, although North Korea says they have had no cases. But Lindsay, that is impossible to believe.
So what do you think there, Bobby? I'm kind of interested as to your, what you think on this, because like they said, this has happened before, but it's just kind of weird where he's just completely nowhere. And he missed a major celebration, their yearly celebration of his grandpa's victory, and they're taking the power there in North Korea. So what do you think?
I mean, it's all gossip from here. I mean, I've heard he's alive. I heard he's dead. In all honesty, I don't really care. Why? Yeah, I don't really care what has happened to him in that regime, right? It's a terrible place, and he's just a terrible leader, and he's been inhumane. His practices are terrible. We have to pay attention to see who would be coming into secession, and hopefully we can get good foreign diplomacy. And if he is still alive, I mean, it still continues to move forward as it is. There are many reasons why he could be out of sight that we don't know about, and he's disappeared before. I really have no opinion on it one way or the other. It's Kim Jong-un. He does whatever he wants to do.
He does what he wants. Okay, so let's move on then. By the way, real quick on the Kim Jong-un thing, the succession of him, I guess, falls to his sister. He has a sister, and I heard she's about 9 times as ruthless as he is. Just to put that out there. But
I mean, we have no idea what can happen over there. I mean, there could be a coup. A lot of different things can happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, especially with these secluded nations where they're not a lot of they're very controlled with their media. They're very everything, all the information is controlled through the government. Yeah, you're right. We don't know what's going on, and like you say, it's all hearsay. So it is, as they always say, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So let's move on to let's talk about something that I kind of find kind of troubling in the sense of A, the way it happened, B, where it happened, and C, not knowing how it happened. So let's take a look at the video, and then we'll kind of discuss this on the other side and why I'm finding this kind of troubling. Take a look.
Giovanna Guillen has been looking for her sister, Private First Class Vanessa Guillen, for nearly 3 days.
She usually messages us like how you're doing or something, because she's like 4 hours away from us.
Vanessa was last seen on Fort Hood in the parking lot of her Regimental Engineer Squadron headquarters Wednesday afternoon.
She was just gone, so she just disappeared.
Her family has traveled from Houston to Fort Hood to look for her. Juan Cruz says he usually speaks with his girlfriend every single day.
Every minute that passes is like killing me inside slowly. I just hope she's okay. Hopefully we find her.
The 20-year-old soldier's car keys, barracks room key, identification card, and wallet were later found in the armory room where she was working on Wednesday.
And she wasn't there, and that's how we knew that something was really wrong.
Her loved ones tell me within the last 3 days, Vanessa's phone was pinged in Belton. That's just over a 20-minute drive from Fort Hood.
I'm really scared. I don't know what to expect, but I do know like we have to be prepared. But I don't really know how we prepare for these kinds of things.
The family is asking for anyone with information about where Vanessa could be to say something.
If you can help us with anything, I really appreciate you. Anything helps. Call the police, something. But please don't be afraid.
Special agents with the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command are involved in this case and asking the public for assistance. An extensive search is now underway by military members as well as civilian and military police.
So first of all, let me kind of tell you why I'm concerned about this. Because why this concern? Soldiers come up missing all the time. They go AWOL. Happens all the time. It's actually very common. Well, not very common, but it happens. So soldiers, the fact that a soldier's missing isn't that big of a deal because usually they pop up at some point. What's troubling on this is the fact that the soldier has been missing and that she is an armor, which has me greatly concerned. Armor are very, if you're not in the military, armor is controlled with a lot of very expensive, very high dollar amount of weaponry. They're in charge of nods, which are your night vision goggles, which are about $25,000, $30,000 a piece. They're in charge of, depending upon the service you are, they're in charge of what's called blood stripe swords, which are they're saber swords that you use in celebrations when you're an officer or you're in the cavalry unit, which she's at Fort Hood, so she'd be in charge of that. And these swords are like, they're laced with gold. I mean, that has me concerned. And the fact that it's in Texas has me concerned. And the fact that she was missing on post has me concerned. Because that means that in order for her to be missing, because a military posts are heavily guarded, they have vision, they have all types of vision. So they don't have anything on her when she left. They don't have no way of telling how she left the base, what way that's what makes this case very highly unusual. And the fact that from her last area of where she was seen was on post, but they have no record of her leaving, no video of her leaving, no video. What even has me concerned of the area that she was missing at was a commissary or PX, and they have all these surveillance cameras that are there. So to me, that's troubling. So the fact that she's missing so much isn't troubling because they can pop up at any point. But the fact that her phone was binged in Benton, which is a little ways from about 30 some odd miles away from Fort Hood, means that she, could she have been in a trunk and left? Did somebody apprehend her? And why doesn't the base know? This is just very, very unusual. I don't even know any other way of kind of describing it. I think that's why it has a little bit of traction, because soldiers go, like I say, they go AWOL all the time. But usually they come back in a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they come back, or they have some type of connection with a family member or someone, So that just has me troubling. I don't know what you think about that, but on a military side, being in the military, knowing kind of the way these bases work, how they function, the security that's behind them, I don't know how this girl's missing in that way. And talking to a lot of,
if they were doing an investigation, though, how much of that would they release out to the family and to the public? I mean, it's obvious that, you've been there. You know, you could probably go by picture, by memory.
That's a good point.
What it is, but and something that where she had a post, she had a position in charge of certain things that are that would people have an interest in stealing, right? and that's kind of your idea. That if she was taken, if she was missing, if she was part of another investigation, I don't think they released that to the family, and they would probably give this, standard. I don't know, we don't have it, until they find out what's really going on. And so there is something bigger to this picture, right? It isn't simply that she just went missing, and that's why that's out there. But this is always the case when you're dealing with stuff that could be classified, when you're dealing with the government of what can be released and not be released. The family members are always left out. I mean, you're seeing that stuff, when it's very dangerous to the family, or they can't do anything. They're not going to release any information because they don't want it to go public.
Yeah. I think the CID, the Criminal Investigative Division, which is kind of in charge of military investigations like this, I mean, that's actually a really good point in reference to them not releasing information. The thing that I found troubling was the fact that she wasn't connected to, she had a boyfriend, and it seems as though the boyfriend and the friend are the ones they're talking to, not specific family members. I mean, they did talk to a sister. I don't know if it's the fact that maybe the family members don't speak English. I don't know I don't know. I'm just guessing on that aspect of it. I don't know why you would just be talking to one sister and not like maybe the mother or the father. I mean, she's relatively young. She's only 20, 21 years old. So she's a very young soldier. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just kind of, this kind of stuff is, it gets kind of weird.
Me, I know the media, Steve, the media 100% is trying to talk to every single family member. It's the family members that don't want to talk, right?
Yeah.
Or they're saying, hey, you just talk. I mean, the media will be all over it, trying to talk to everybody. And, in a situation like this, they'll be as respectful as possible. But they will try to talk to every single person. So, it seems that the sister is the only one that's going to speak out. And, they're probably wanting information that they can't get. And, later on, well, I mean, who knows if we'll find out what happened. I mean, this is purely classified stuff.
Yeah, and it kind of worries me too is the fact of how close Fort Hood is to the border there in Mexico. That has them kind of, that I don't know. I just, all these red flags come up. It could be just that I'm tripping in these senses, but every time I hear,
you've been there. I mean, you've been there. I mean, you served for a very, very long time. I mean, and you've been there, and you understand what access people have to certain things. But in a case like this, I mean, it's obvious that the military has a handle on it, and they're trying to keep it quiet, right? And I mean, do they say they're not doing anything, or do you know? I mean, are they not doing anything, or are they saying that
they are doing stuff? And here's the funny thing: I actually, when I was in the Marine Corps, Fort Hood is one of those type of training facilities where it's a multi. Not only that, it's not only multi services where you have the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines. There's a lot of different branches of service there, but in Fort Hood, there's a lot of international troops there too, right? You got the French Foreign Legion that's stationed there. You got a detachment of German spec op guys that are stationed there. So you have a lot of international troops that are there as well. But like Pakistanis, Afghans, you have all types where they train there in Fort Hood. In fact, part of School of America's part of the phases was in Fort Hood. And not only that, you do a lot of, when I was in, the reason we went to Fort Hood 3 times to do border ops. So you would go, because they have a lot of border and drug trafficking in that area. So what they do is they bring the military in, especially Marine Corps guys, and sometimes they'll bring in airborne guys that will go in and patrol the border area. There's actually a rancher out there that owns, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of acres on the border, and he allows training on his land. So we used to go there all the time. And from far as I know, up to a year ago, I know they are still doing that operation all the time. So that has me worried as well. And I think it's just a personal aspect of it and just knowing all the stuff that's going on there. But you did bring up a good point on the CID aspect of it, of not wanting the public to know everything. So maybe we don't know everything. Maybe there's a lot of missing pieces there. Maybe she did talk to a family member at some point. Maybe they lost contact at another point. Who knows? So anyway, I don't know, but it's just those type of things. You know, I always, just being a veteran myself, I'm concerned of soldiers missing. It's one of those things that has a personal effect, especially to me, having military members that serve, that are presently serving. That kind of stuff just concerns me, you know. So
yeah, you know. But I have one question for you, Stephen. Do you have faith that the military is going to do everything that they can to find her?
One thing I know, and let me tell you, I'm going to bring an incident. I'm going to bring a personal incident that actually happened to not me, but my wife and her unit. We were, this was in Fort Wainwright, Alaska. They went and did a land nav course, and 2 of the soldiers ended up missing in one of these. They never came back. And let me tell you, the amount of units that went out there to find them. Now they did end up finding them. They were alive. They just had gotten lost, but they were lost for 2 days. And I'm talking the amount of assets they put out there to find these soldiers is not. There were 2 female soldiers that just simply got lost, and they got kind of land nav courses are very confusing, especially in Alaska. You have the ground that's always shifting; it's moving day by day, is different from night, and they flipped out, and I mean they put all kind of assets to find these soldiers. They do go out and find them. We had a situation when I was in Somalia, another situation where we had a guy that ended up missing. He ended up urinating at night, but when they did a nightly check, the guy was missing. So they freaked out, and the guy ended up coming back, putting his uniform on. They found out that he was looking for himself. You know what I mean? So they do take this kind of stuff pretty serious.
He put his uniform on and went out on a search for himself.
So what happened was he went out. He went to urinate. He went to pee. So when the night watchman came looking, he noticed that, hey, we were in Somalia at the time. So we were like, hey, there's a guy missing. So they went and told the lieutenant, and went to the lieutenant, to the captain, all within a matter of maybe 2 minutes. Everybody, put your uniforms on. We're looking for so-and-so. So what? As he were saying who we were looking for, the guy came back running like, oh no, something's going on. So he's putting his helmet on, he's putting his flak jacket on, he's getting his weapon, and we're all looking and searching. And then it came down from the unit, hey, we're looking for, I don't want to say his, well, you know what, I can say his name because he says it anyway. He's like, hey, Bibi, his name was Bibian Gomez. He's like, hey, we're looking for Bibian Gomez, and he turned around and goes, that's me. That was... So we said, I mean, it lasted maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but it was everybody laughed about it. But I mean, they do take this stuff pretty serious.
Yeah, well, that's good though. I mean, we gotta have faith that they will, and hopefully something will come out of it later. And we just pray that she's gonna be okay. I mean, that's
yes, most definitely.
We're gonna hope she's okay.
Definitely. All right, so I want to move on to this little situation about Diamond and Silk. So those of you that don't know who Diamond and Silk is, avid Trump supporters, love Trump, big Trump supporters, 2 African-American females, basically what we call in our demographics, them church ladies. That's what they look like. And I think that's the persona they give off. They're well liked within the conservative part of the House, but they have been, as of late in the past year, they've been getting kicked off a lot of platforms. They got kicked out of YouTube. They got kicked out of Twitter for falsifying or not telling the truth or telling misinformation or all this crazy stuff. And some of the social media is getting really, really active in trying to stop this kind of stuff. So when they got fired from YouTube and Twitter and all the other accounts that they got fired on, Fox News actually brought them on board about 6 or 7 months ago. And they've been on their platform within the Fox News digital aspect, their digital, their online presence. So they represent, their little, whatever crowd they have. But it seems as though they have gotten themselves in trouble again, and this time with Fox News themselves. Take a look at this part.
In a matter of 2 weeks, over 1,000 people supposedly died from the coronavirus. In a 2 weeks time period, over 1,000 people, after being tested positive, have died from the coronavirus. But it took 39 days from January all the way up to February the 29th, I believe. That's
for
Saturday. For the first person to die. Here's another thing.
Come on.
Here's another thing. My president said on March the 24th, Tuesday, this past week, my president said that he would love for America to be back up and running.
I knew this was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I knew
He said
after
that.
he said
Wait,
this,
wait, wait.
this was going to happen. Go ahead.
At the time he said it, there was 25 1,489 cases with 307 deaths. Instantaneously, you had the media calling President Trump out. He wanted open by Easter. He wants this open by Easter. Me and you were talking. I said, now watch the numbers of deaths go up.
Right.
Watch everything increase because they wanted to make it look bad.
That's right.
In front of our eyes.
All right. So right there, that what we showed you was what got them fired. And if you haven't picked up as to exactly what got them fired there, it was the fact of what they were trying to insinuate. They're insinuating the fact that the media is perpetuating these false numbers to make Trump look bad. And the reasoning behind that, according to them, is because Trump wanted to open up, during what is it? I can't think of it. The actual for in March. What was it? The Easter. Right. For Easter.
Well, he wanted to open
or in April
by Easter Sunday. He wanted everything to be lifted.
Yeah. So I think and the reason why I posted that video of them, because that's exactly the video that actually got them fired from Fox, which is a rarity because Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson says stuff like that all the time. I mean, I was just watching Tucker Carlson yesterday saying almost exactly that, which is kind of weird, but they got fired for that on their digital side. But I think Fox News is right now, they're entangled in a situation because of how they were downplaying the COVID-19 early on, especially in February and the beginning of March. They are terrified of lawsuits. And we actually briefly had talked about this a couple of weeks ago about how Fox News is worried about this type of stuff. What do you think?
Right. No, this is exactly some of the dangers that we have right now for people trying to politicize COVID-19. And that has been a big problem. I mean, him wanting to open up by Easter with all the data that was out there the data was showing that we're going to have a peak. We're going to have a climb in deaths. And those things were happening. This is how it happens. And with them downplaying this and making people less afraid of COVID-19 in a sense and wanting to act in ways that are not sanitary and safe, it was only going to raise the amount of deaths that we have, the amount of affected that we have. And so they had to be careful about this. Fox News was taking precautions. The owners, like the Murdochs, were taking precautions, being very safe and not doing things and, sheltering in place and covering themselves up. But at the same time, their news station was downplaying the dangers of this. And it was getting, it was wrong.
All right. So, okay. So anyway, I mean, I think when and look, and we're going to go into this other, in fact, look, because it's going to fall into what this other story that we're going to be talking about as well, because it seems as though, I mean, no matter how you want to put this, this COVID-19 thing, especially here in the only here in the United States that I can see that this is being, it's a very political situation here for a number of reasons. And let's go into, because this is going to go kind of flow into our next section here when we talk about two doctors, Dr. Dan Erickson and Arden Massey here in Bakersfield. These doctors recently had a video that went viral a lot, and I mean it went viral. I didn't even know who they were until I started doing a little bit of research on this. I didn't realize. I mean, in the conservative circles, I mean, their videos shared a couple million times, so it's like out there. So let's go into the video. Let's see what they did, and then we'll come on the other side and we'll talk about it.
People on both sides of this issue feel very strongly. There are those who agree with the doctors, who say Kern County should reopen immediately. Then there are others who say these doctors' statements are a danger to public safety.
I've talked to our local head of the health department, and we're all in agreement but we need to have Governor Newsom in agreement with us to lift this ban.
Our director has not concurred with the statements that were made yesterday about the need to reopen at this time.
Doctors Dan Erickson and Artine Masihi own the largest testing site in Kern County, Accelerated Urgent Care.
The Centers for Disease Control, the top medical minds of our nation, the World Health Organization, our local state officials, the guidance is clear.
Yet the doctors disagree with this guidance. So public health insists you do not adopt their ideas.
You can be asymptomatic and not know you're sick, and you can be spreading COVID-19.
Doctors Erickson and Masihi believe everyone without symptoms should return to work immediately. Public health disagrees.
We are eager to get back to our socializing and our businesses reopening when that time comes, and it will. We will follow the governor, and we will do it safely and carefully.
Public health worries that encouraging people to leave home will only prolong the time we have to stay there.
Through social distancing, that is the one thing we can do to impact this curve and not burden our healthcare system, and hopefully get back to our daily lives as soon as possible.
And public health says COVID-19 is a good reason.
People are entitled to their opinion. They are entitled to speak about this topic as they wish. I want to just reiterate, we do not agree with the statements that were made.
All right, so first of all, I want to put this up. I want to put this image up because I think it's kind of important, and then we're going to talk about it because just to show how crazy this has gotten in that sense. So let's put up the image up there, KP. So the group, I guess the organization or whatever they're part of, it's called the American College of Emergency Physicians and the American Academy of Emergency Medical Conditions emphatically condemned the recent opinions released by Dr. Daniel Erickson and Dr. Artin, what did they call it? Masihi? How did they pronounce that name? Did you get that?
Masihi.
Anyway.
Masihi.
Okay, there you go. These reckless and untested uses do not speak for medical societies and are inconsistent with current science and epidemiology regarding COVID-19. As owners of local urgent care clinics, it appears these two individuals are releasing biased, non-peer-reviewed data to advance their personal financial interests without regard for the public's health. So that's what that organization put out. That's what they released. So it seems as though this is not a popular opinion within the medical circles.
No, it's not. It's not at all, because a lot of it was false. I mean, that's the thing that you saw them say it. And the thing that gets to me is that it was the news station that actually held this conference and put this video up for them, which is why they've gotten millions and millions of views. And so I don't know what the connection was. And, I don't know if it was the same news station. I think it was the same news station. I'm not too sure that posted that what you just posted, that was, showing that, don't listen to these guys and all that stuff. At the same time, they posted these guys' opinion. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so I guess they're covering their butts, but it never should have gone the way that it did. I mean, if these guys would have done it in their own living rooms or whatever, I don't think it would have got the same attention. But for the mere fact that the news stations gave them their time to go public with this was terrible. So, they had to be tied to somewhere. But I mean, first of all, you look at the bias that they have. They run urgent care facilities, and they talk about their rooms are empty and they have to furlough people. People aren't taking care of their regular ailments, right? And that's the thing that myself, running care, having the responsibility of over 100,000 patient lives, having responsibility. We're not urgent care. We're primary care providers. We're specialists. And we take care of these folks. We are responsible for them. And so the thing that we have to run through is we have to continually call them and say, hey, you know what, diabetes, you still have to take care of it, even though COVID-19 is here. We need you to take care of it. We need you to get your hemoglobin A1C levels checked. We need to do those things. At the urgent care facilities, they were talking about that, but that's what makes them money. When people skip out on their primary care visits, they get sick, they hit the urgent care or they hit the ER rooms. So they're talking about it from a different perspective. I mean, the mere fact that they have their testing centers out there, and I know they're charging people for it, and it isn't free, so that they're profiting from that perspective as well. This is purely political for them, right? I mean, the science that they gave in there about, your immune system is, after 2 weeks, it's so weakened that, it just, what they were saying was so skewed. Their spin on it was irresponsible. I mean, they really should get in trouble. It is just what they have done, the effect that they have had. It's just terrible. And they're using their certificate, their license, to kind of give credence and credibility to what they are saying, and it is damaging. I mean, we've seen Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz start to say things, and then they both apologize for what they said, but it's people are forgetting what they're trying to do, which is take care of patients. What they're trying to do, they're here to take care of the community, and they're politicizing it, and that has to stop. They need to concentrate on taking care of the patients,
and the sound bites are already out there.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah. So, people will use these two doctors. They'll use, even if these two doctors were to come out tomorrow and say, "Oh, everything I said was a lie," that won't matter. The first video is the one that's going to get all the attention, and it's the one that's going to be shared. It's going to be, see, I told you, when you have, your Aunt Gracie or whatever says here, or here, look, I got a video for you to watch, and you watch the video, you're like, oh my God. I'm not lying. Those two doctors, I've been receiving this video all in my IMs, but I've never watched them because it's usually from my conservative friends, so I know it's something that they're trying to prove. And I never looked at, I just didn't realize it. And then when I didn't connect the two until a little bit, later, once I started, we started doing the research on this. So I was just like, man, what the heck is going on here? This is just crazy. These are two physicians. They know better than to do stuff like that. They know better.
I mean, it got the pictures with Kevin McCarthy. I mean, they're in Kevin McCarthy's district. So, they have pictures with Kevin McCarthy. And who knows if they were friends before this, but it did give them a platform to stand on and to say things. Look, I think in all aspects of it, nobody wants this shutdown. No one wants to have a shelter in place to affect everyone's economic standards. I have been every day advocating and working with folks to try to get that stimulus money, trying to find ways for the business to move forward, and trying to make sense of things. And I just got off the phone with the supervisor here in Fresno, just trying to find a way for our folks to be able to survive during this time and move towards a way to have us open up in a way that everyone is safe. But the more people neglect or the more people give a disrespect to how dangerous COVID-19 is right now with no vaccine, it's going to cause a delay in everything. We can open everything up. If everyone gets sick, then you have no production. It's just ridiculous. I know we'll talk about this soon, but it is ridiculous the amount of disrespect people are giving towards COVID-19. Okay? It's real. And until you lose a family member, and I don't want you to, but when you do, okay, you will think about this much, much differently. And you have to take this seriously. And we have to find ways where people can respect this disease and practice in safe ways, okay? Where you just think everyone has it, that you can interact with one another, but be safe and make it less contagious to you by covering up, by keeping a safe distance, by washing your hands frequently. That's what we need. And we are not there yet.
Yeah. And I think, it seems the two sides to this, okay? When we're talking about COVID-19 is you have one side that believes that COVID-19, and I'm not talking about the political side. I'm just talking about two sides of the way people are thinking about this, period. You have one side that believes, look, we need to be proactive. We need to ensure that more people don't get infected. We need to do the things that we need to do in order for those people not to get infected, and we need to be safe, and we need to be cautious. And then it seems like you got another side that's like, hey, I should be able to have my freedom to do what I want. If I want to go out and, stuff should be open. It's not right that, this stuff is not open. And and bringing it back onto the political side of it, I've noticed that what states are doing is they're lifting their shelter in place so they can kick people off of unemployment. That way, the burden of the unemployment goes into the business rather than the state. you know, especially if you're going to furlough some of these individuals, you know, you have the right to furlough if, for instance, that your business is closed due to a medical condition, the state will pay, or will pay at least a portion of these unemployment. You know what I'm saying? So it seems this. I think we need to be safe. Like you said, you were extremely thorough on it, on what we need to do to be safe. And I think we really, really, really need to be safe. It's just that simple, you know. And it seems as though if the effect isn't you, like you were mentioning, it's only when it happens to you personally are you going to see the importance. Had you taken some precautions? I mean, look at the person that was in charge of some of these major rallies. A lot of these, in 3 major rallies, 3 of the heads of 3 major rallies that were these to stop these shelter in place have coronavirus or COVID-19. So,
right. And remember, these elected officials are charged with the hard decision of closing and opening. And not one wants to keep anything closed. They want the economy to keep moving. And they can only do it if they have the trust of the constituents and the people to act safely. I mean, we saw yesterday, and we have to check today, the governor of California, Governor Newsom, saw how everyone went to the beaches this last weekend. And now he's putting an order to close the beaches because they were not acting responsibly out there. That's the issue. And you can keep 6 feet from each other at the beaches, but you know what? You're still going to that bathroom. You're still touching that handle. You're still doing those things. You're still helping someone carry a cooler, and you're not being safe when you're doing that. And that is going to cause a spike and an increase in those that are infected. And when that happens, if the hospital rooms are taken, then you have increases in death. We can't let that happen. So please act responsibly. They can open everything up, but we have to be responsible citizens. We have to maintain public health and safety for everybody. That's the key. And that's what people don't, people forget. It's like they think that people just want to close stuff off. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So we have been kind of in this first segment, kind of, we're kind of a little all over the place here, but there was a reason for that. I kind of wanted, I was concerned about the soldier issue. Well, it's, when we put these things together, I mean, we see things I see things that would catch our eye or something that I feel that's important that we should be sharing to the public. That's why I like to put these things out there, and I like to discuss them because me and you have in-depth conversations on some of this stuff, and I kind of like to do that.